Saskatchewan shelter reduced to ashes. What's next for Prince Albert Salvation Army following a Christmas Day fire that destroyed the facility? Screening for sobriety, what Saskatoon police will be implementing in the new year. And a look at some of the top stories that made headlines in the province for 2025.
This is CTV News with Chantel Saunders.
Good evening. We begin tonight in Prince Albert, where a Christmas Day fire destroyed the Salvation Army's warming shelter. Jasmine Pelletier now on the loss to the community and what's next to help those in need.
Around 8 p.m. Christmas Day, Mike Horn received a phone call from a neighboring business that there was a fire at the Salvation Army on the same block as his family's store. He and his family rushed to the scene.
We were kind of watching from the front, keeping an eye on things and on the back of the building, and so we just, we were able to witness firsthand, the hard work and efforts that the fire department was doing to battle the blaze.
Horn says the fire is devastating for the downtown community. Starting on December 15th, the Salvation Army building on 900 block Central Avenue had been operating as a 35-person warming center, although it was not occupied at the time of the fire. Prince Albert police say the cause is still under investigation.
We serve some of the most vulnerable people of our city, and it hurts me when I see the negative comments that they're being blamed. It's not, we don't know that.
The fire department says the Salvation Army building is likely a total loss. The building had just undergone an expensive revitalization, and Salvation Army Major Ed Dean says a complete rebuild would likely cost millions.
We will look at space, leasing space, so that we can still do our feeding programs, our warming center, everything else.
A temporary warming center is now located at the Prince Albert Grand Council Urban Services building and will operate until Friday. There will be a meeting between community organizations on Tuesday morning to determine next steps. For the time being, the Salvation Army is collecting donations, and the PA Raiders are collecting clothing and blanket donations at their Monday night game. Jasmine Pelletier, CTV News, Prince Albert.
Drivers in the Saskatoon area pulled over for a traffic stop may be asked for a breath sample in the new year. The Saskatoon Police Service is implementing mandatory alcohol screenings, joining other police services across the country, including the RCMP, in implementing the practice. Hallie Mandrick has the story.
As of January 1st, any driver who is pulled over by the Saskatoon Police Traffic Unit will undergo alcohol screening.
New year, new beginning, a new instrument and tool to use for the service, and why not start it on the first day of the year?
In 2025, the SPS saw 301 cases of impaired driving, an increase of 78 compared to last year.
It is quite calming. It's one of those things that's one of our main focuses in the traffic unit because it's public safety and traffic safety. Unfortunately, it's a trend that's been going on for several years, and that is something that we have to make sure we look into and enforce for public safety.
Mandatory alcohol screening has become more prominent across Canada since 2018, when changes to the criminal code allowed for police to take a breath sample without suspicion of impairment. The Saskatchewan RCMP adopted this policy last year, and Superintendent Grant St. Germain says it's been a positive change.
People are looking at the idea that I might have a couple of drinks and I'm going to drive home, and I should be okay. I think I'm going to be okay. But with mandatory alcohol screening, they know that when they get stopped, they're going to have to blow into a device. And so they're making that right choice from the get-go.
St. Germain says the roadside breath sample only adds about 30 seconds to the process, but it makes a big difference, with the goal to keep impaired drivers off the road year-round.
People like to go out and celebrate. Sometimes they don't make the proper decisions, or they just don't have the education to understand how much they consume. So a lot of times there is an increase because of the celebrations, as well as just not understanding the science behind it.
Hallie Mandrick, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Lawyers representing a group of 5 families who lost loved ones in the Humboldt Broncos bus crash plan to appeal a judge's dismissal of their lawsuit. As Mick Fable reports, the families feel several defendants, including the provincial government, played roles in a deadly 2018 crash.
After a judge dismissed a lawsuit related to the Humboldt Broncos bus crash earlier this month, legal counsel representing the 5 families behind the suit say they will appeal the decision. On December 16th, a Regina judge dismissed a claim originally filed in 2018, shortly after the crash, which left 16 dead and 13 injured at an intersection of Highway 35 and 335 near Tisdale. The lawsuit raised claims of negligence against the Saskatchewan Ministry of Highways, the semi-driver involved in the crash, the company he worked for, and the manufacturer of the bus. Court of King's Bench Judge Graham Mitchell made the dismissal, saying the allegations made in the proposed pleading are not sound in law and the pleading's fundamental premise is unprovable. To date, no statements of defense have been filed by any of the defendants.
The parents are disappointed, and it's that individual and systemic responsibility and transparency that they're seeking, and the families are left with an incomplete answer and critical evidence never being considered.
For over 7 years, the claim has made its way through the court system, a significant amount of time, the legal counsel say, just to figure out if the claim could move forward.
The delay is so palpable and overriding that the delay in litigating this lawsuit has caused equal to more harm than the tragedy itself.
Malor predicts it will be about a year before they hear back from the Court of Appeal.
This case has never been about money. It's never been about compensation. It's always been about whether or not the government is going to be held accountable. Accountability can lead to safer roads because without it, there's no incentive for change.
The government of Saskatchewan says it respects the court's decision, but will not provide further comment as the matter remains before the court. Mick Favel, CTV News, Regina.
A Regina man accused in the fatal shooting of a woman near Weyburn this past fall is scheduled to be in court again next week. Chris Fallman appeared in Estevan Provincial Court by video today, is charged with second-degree murder in the September shooting that left 44-year-old Tanya Myers dead. She was a passenger in a vehicle that was traveling on Highway 39 just outside of Weyburn when she was shot. Fallman is expected to make his next court appearance January 6th in Weyburn. One person was sent to hospital following a crash in Saskatoon's North End. Emergency crews were called to Marquis Drive and Arthur Rose Avenue at about noon, where the fire department says two vehicles collided. Firefighters had to use the jaws of life to get an unconscious patient out of the vehicle. She was taken to hospital. There is no word on what contributed to the crash. Saskatchewan is about to see a brief warm-up after a cold Christmas.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Some youngsters taking advantage of the mild temperatures, taking to the Toboggan Hill in Saskatoon today. Environment Canada is forecasting temperatures just below zero in the next couple of days, but by Wednesday, the Arctic air will return and we will see temperatures dip into the minus mid-teens. Over the weekend, Saskatoon saw 13 centimeters of snowfall with temperatures into the minus 30s. Even if it is a couple of days, I think people will be welcoming the relief.
I think so. And today was one of those days, so we're down to one more day. Now, we are going to see an interesting sort of situation, Chantel. The temperatures are going to warm up overnight, and so our 24-hour high temperatures will likely happen around, either in the early morning hours, depending on where you are, or maybe about 7 in the morning, but it won't be tomorrow afternoon. Now, the good news is tomorrow afternoon, temperatures aren't going to be cold. They'll still be warmer than seasonal, just not as warm as they were hours earlier than that. But we're still keeping our eye on this Clipper system that's moving in from Alberta, sliding through Saskatchewan. We don't expect a lot of snow out of this system, but snow nonetheless, and we'll talk about that later on.
The taps are back on in the town of Outlook and surrounding area after 8 days without water due to a suspected break-in at the Outlook water treatment facility. All advisories were lifted last week. The announcement came just before Christmas on December 23rd. Town officials say upgrades to security around the water facility have been approved in the 2026 budget and are encouraging other communities to learn from this situation.
We want to not only learn for ourselves, but we want to help other communities learn as well, and that's a piece of the bigger pie, right? Bigger picture, right? Is advocating that this doesn't happen to somebody else.
RCMP are investigating the possible break-in. Anyone with information is asked to contact police or Crime Stoppers. The city of Saskatoon is reminding bus riders transit service will be free on New Year's Eve. Fares will not be charged on city transit starting December 31st at 7 until 3 a.m. January 1st. Registered Access Transit customers can also reserve free service until 2:30 a.m. on New Year's Day. The city says trip planning apps will not be available after regular service hours and is reminding riders to check bus schedules through the transit app or through Google Maps Transit. Free transit also being provided for free in Prince Albert for New Year's Eve. The city announcing the service is returning between 7:15 on the 31st until 3:15 a.m. January 1st. 6 routes will be operational, including the rush hour, all-day West and East Hill and West and East Flat routes with buses every 30 minutes. Riders can track their bus using the City of Prince Albert's transit site. As we mark the final days of 2025, we are taking a look at some of the key stories that shaped Saskatchewan over the past year. Sierra D'Souza Butts on the highs and lows of the year.
Tariff is a word Canadians became very aware of over the course of 2025. In response to U.S. President Donald Trump imposing tariffs on Canadian goods, Saskatchewan stopping orders of U.S. liquor for a time before taking a softer approach to the issue the rest of the year following the election of a new Prime Minister. As U.S. trade tensions simmered in the background, Mark Carney's federal election win brought about a new relationship between the provincial and federal governments.
And what I heard last night is a Prime Minister, and I'm hoping a Liberal Party that isn't giving up on Saskatchewan.
Tariffs not only coming from the United States, as China placed a major tariff on Canadian canola. Trade uncertainty, not the only pressure farmers felt, with Saskatchewan's southwest corner facing a significant drought.
It received almost no rain between April, May, and June.
A lack of rain also helping create the conditions for a brutal wildfire season in the north, displacing thousands of evacuated residents and causing destruction in areas like L'Orange and Denier Beach.
The only thing is we have no money. They just picked us off the street and took us out. I didn't bring my wallet, nothing.
In the village of Richmond, a series of arrests made headlines this year as RCMP raided the compound of the self-proclaimed Queen of Canada, Romana Didulo, and her followers. Didulo's case continues to play out in court, but her conditions prevent her from returning to the small community for now. A changing retail landscape having an impact in Saskatchewan with nationwide closures of Hudson's Bay and PV Mart.
With the affordable prices here at PV Mart, we've gotten by with managing, with feeding our animals.
But as it turns out, a comeback for PV Mart is in store for 2026 in 2 Saskatchewan communities to start. Almost as good as a name drop from a pop star. I'm moving to Saskatchewan. Or for the Riders to win their 5th Grey Cup.
We've always had the best fans in the league, and now we've got the best dang team in the league to match you guys.
Momentum the Riders hope to continue into next year. Another story in store, 20 years since the final trade that turned a Montreal man's red paperclip into a house in Kipling.
This sounds weird enough, it just might work.
Sierra D'Souza Butts, CTV News, Regina.
The city of Humboldt is celebrating a successful first season of its holiday trail. Visitors to the local campground were treated to a festive light display through December. The holiday trail welcomed one shy of 500 vehicles, raising just over $5,400 for local community and nonprofit organizations. As a thank you to the community, a special walk-through night is planned between 6 and 7:30 tomorrow night. This was the first year of the light display, and organizers are already planning for next year. Still to come, a high-stakes meeting with the leaders of the U.S. and Israel, what the two discussed. Also, political popularity, how the Liberals and Conservatives are stacking up. You're watching CTV News Live from downtown Saskatoon. Thanks for staying with us tonight. The U.S. president held a high-stakes meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu this afternoon. It took place at Mar-a-Lago amid concerns over a fragile ceasefire in Gaza. And as John Venevelli reports, it comes as a group of Canadian activists is calling for sanctions after they were denied entry into the West Bank 2 weeks ago, along with half a dozen MPs.
Far from Donald Trump's meeting in Florida, in Gaza today, displaced Palestinians trying to survive a harsh winter offered mixed opinions about whether the meeting might amount to much. This man saying everyone's exhausted, cold, and urging the U.S. president to get his peace deal moving on to the next stage and eventually reconstruction.
Gaza's a tough place.
Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu speaking with reporters, saying Gaza was among 5 major subjects to be discussed. Trump said he hoped to move to phase 2 of the ceasefire plan quickly, but adding Hamas must disarm. He also suggested the U.S. would consider further military action against Iran if the country tries to rebuild its nuclear program.
Now I hear that Iran is trying to build up again, and if they are, we're going to have to knock them down. We'll knock them down. We'll knock the hell out of them, but hopefully that's not happening. I heard Iran wants to make a deal.
Meanwhile, in Ottawa, a group of activists held a press conference after they were stopped by Israel at this border crossing 2 weeks ago, trying to enter the occupied West Bank from Jordan. Along with 6 MPs, the group, sponsored by the nonprofit the Canadian Muslim Vote, planned to observe conditions there, but was denied entry for what the Israeli Defense Ministry said were security reasons.
This denial of access is not an isolated incident. It is a small sample of the systematic control and intimidation that Palestinians face every single day under occupation.
The group noting that Israel's security cabinet recently approved the recognition of 19 new settlements in the West Bank, which Canada considers illegal under international law, and calling for sanctions on items that come from them.
Any settlement product that's developed and sold should be barred from Canada.
As for whether that Canadian delegation will try to go back to the West Bank, today they said they'd like to, but aren't sure what will happen next. John Benavelli-Rao, CTV News, Toronto.
Ukraine says Russian claims it tried to attack one of Vladimir Putin's residences are baseless and designed to undermine peace negotiations. The Kremlin offered no evidence for the attempted drone attack on the Russian president's home west of Moscow. It says all of the Ukrainian drones were destroyed by air defenses and there was no damage. Putin later told Donald Trump in a phone call today that Russia will now review its negotiations and its stance in ceasefire talks. Ukraine's president called the attack claim another round of lies from the Russian Federation. Tensions continue to rise between China and Taiwan after Beijing launched its largest war games ever around the island. China mobilized its army, warships, and fighter jets around Taiwan for live exercises that showcase how it can cut off the island. Taiwan's government rejects China's claim over its sovereignty and condemned the drills, calling them military intimidation. The escalation comes less than 2 weeks after the U.S. approved an $11 billion weapons package for Taiwan. A new poll shows the federal Liberals and Conservatives in a dead heat for voter support. According to the Liaison Tracking Survey, which polled 1,000 Canadians, the Liberals gained a single percentage point to sit at 39% support nationally. Meanwhile, the Conservatives were down by 1% to sit at 37% support. The 2-point gap falls within the poll's margin of error, which means the parties are in a statistical tie. Prime Minister Mark Carney's approval rating was 56%. While Saskatchewan is seeing a brief break from the cold, Quebec and Ontario are getting a mixed bag. Freezing rain, blowing snow, ice pellets, and strong winds continue to prompt weather alerts as well as power outages. In fact, more than 80,000 in Ontario and Quebec are without power. South of the border, travel has been snarled by severe winter weather. More than 100 million Americans are under high wind alerts in the Midwest and parts of the country's Northeast. Airports are already facing major backups during the busiest time of year to travel. More than 10,000 flights were delayed nationwide yesterday. Well, in just a couple of days, millions of eyes from around the world will be on New York. And as Times Square prepares, they need to do a very important test of the confetti.
3, 2, 1, Happy New Year!
Organizers tossed confetti into the air in a few enthusiastic trial runs. More than 3,000 tons of confetti will be dumped onto about 1 million people attending the famous Times Square New Year's Eve ball drop. I wonder if you have to apply for that job. That would be fun.
That would be a good gig. It's like, and I see here on your resume, you're a confetti tester. Oh, next stop, the boardroom.
Absolutely. Weather-wise, I think we're enjoying this reprieve.
And why not? You know, get out there and embrace it. I think a lot of people were today. We saw the tobogganers out there, and I hope there were other people making the most of it. Right now in Saskatoon, maybe not the best, because there is some rain falling right now. There is some freezing rain in our forecast, and that's certainly showing up at the moment. We'll talk about that a little later on, but let's take a look at our numbers. So I'll bring this up right now. So currently, -1 degree, as I mentioned, get some rain falling, so it makes a freezing rain right now. We'll have to wait and see what that's going to do to our roads, but just simply be careful, certainly as temperatures continue to cool off. Winds right now are on the moderate side, not much of a wind in Prince Albert, -6 degrees right now in the Gateway City, but the Battleford's on the plus side, 2 degrees, winds from the west at 9. As I mentioned, temperatures will be warming up in the overnight period, cooling off mid-afternoon, but still above seasonal. So our current temperature is the 24-hour high for Saskatoon. That's 10 degrees at the moment. 10 degrees above seasonal for this time of late December. 1999 is when we hit our record temperature of 7 degrees, -41 in 1968, and 9/16 is when the sun came up and it went down at 5:02.
Coming up, the Cub Connection, what Manitoba researchers are finding out about a group of polar bears in the province.
Back at 2025 in provincial politics. Tuesday on Your Morning, we've got a portion of a conversation with Saskatchewan's opposition leader.
Okay, let's take a look at our sky cam shot. You can't see it right now, but I went and checked the weather door, and yes, there are a few raindrops falling right now. And so, of course, as temperatures, even though temperatures are going to warm up in the overnight period, we'll have to wait and see what happens when they actually hit the road surfaces and sidewalks. It could create some slippery situations, so keep that in mind. Keeping in mind the fact that we may start to see a lot more in the way of active weather along the west coast that will ultimately make its way up to the lower mainland and Vancouver Island. Right now, most action is going to be up around the north coast. A little bit of a active weather system, a couple of bumps coming through Saskatchewan with a weather clipper, but as Chantal was mentioning earlier on, ugly conditions out in central Canada, out towards Atlantic Canada, freezing rain, snow, and certainly in parts of the American Midwest. Iowa and Minnesota have certainly been hit hard already, and Michigan is getting into it. -1 degree in Saskatoon, -6 in Prince Albert, and 2 on the plus side in the Battlefords. The hot spot, well, that was Loon Lake at 3 degrees, Hudson Bay -26. On to the temperatures currently with 3 degrees on the plus side in Lloydminster, -3 in Swift Current, 7 in Regina, and Yorkton on the minus side, -8 in Estevan. Into central parts of the province, temperatures ranging quite a bit here, 15 degrees in fact. A number of locations at +2 degrees. That's Meadow Lake, the Battlefords, and Spiritwood, but it cools off to -13. That's in Hudson Bay. Up north, some cold temperatures up around Stony Rapids, -20 degrees, but it warms up to -10 in Buffalo and Arrows. And down south, there are no plus temperatures on this part of the map, but still pretty mild conditions. Temperatures ranging from -2 degrees in Last Mountain down to -8 in both East End and Carlisle, just in the corners there. Okay, here we go with our futurecast. Well, there's that first impulse of the precipitation we're dealing with right now, and then it looks like another one is showing up as we make our way into tomorrow, but we don't expect a lot out of either of these systems in terms of accumulation. Cloudy or mainly cloudy skies for the north tomorrow, but some quite cold temperatures into the mid to low -20s for far northern areas, -14 for La Ronge. Temperatures in the minus single digits for west central Saskatchewan, a better chance of some flurries or I should say substantive snow in Meadow Lake and Spiritwood than in Rosetown and Kindersley. 3 degrees on the plus side for Maple Creek, -2 in Leader, -1 in Outlook, and 0 degrees in Swift Current, 0 as well in Moose Jaw, Estevan, and just slightly cooler than that in Regina, and on the plus side at 1 in York. Yorkton, -1 in Watrous, -2 in Melfort, 0 in Humboldt, and -7 in Hudson Bay. The Battlefords tonight dropping down to -4 degrees, cloudy skies tomorrow, and a high of 0 degrees. Oh, -1. It keeps changing. -13 on New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, -12 degrees. And after a cool Friday, getting back to more seasonal numbers for Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Still a risk of freezing rain and a chance of flurries in Prince Albert overnight into tomorrow. Tomorrow, a mild day, but cooling off in the afternoon. -18 on New Year's Eve, -16 on New Year's Day, and -17 on Friday. And then temperatures warming up ever so slightly. And then -2 degrees, winds out of the northwest, 30, gusting to 50, a risk of freezing rain, 0 degrees, cloudy skies for Tuesday, Wednesday, New Year's Eve. Things really cool off. Story of my life. -14 degrees on Thursday, Friday, -17, and a mild-ish, or at least seasonal weekend in store with a slight chance of flurries. French actress and animal rights activist Brigitte Bardot has died. Bardot became an international celebrity and global sex symbol in the 1950s and 60s as she starred in more than 24 films. In 1969, her features were chosen to be the model for Marianne, the national emblem of France. Bardot retired from acting in the early 1970s, turning her focus to animal rights. Bardot faced criticism in later life for supporting far-right political parties and criticizing immigration into France. Brigitte Bardot was 91 years old. Taylor Swift has made a major donation in honor of her dad. Swift gave $1 million to the American Heart Association. Her dad, Scott Swift, underwent a quintuple bypass surgery earlier this year. The CEO of the American Heart Association told People magazine that, quote, Swift's remarkable generosity will create lasting change far beyond its financial value, end quote. Taylor also donated $1 million to Feeding America, a nonprofit network of over 200 food banks in the U.S. during the holiday season.
I'm Martha Stewart. Snoop and I are celebrating today.
So what are we celebrating?
Well, we're celebrating...
Martha Stewart can add soccer expert to her resume. Stewart is joining her friend Snoop Dogg as a minority owner of a Welsh soccer team in Swansea. Snoop Dogg joined the club as a co-owner and investor in July. She was spotted at the match last week against Wrexham.
All right, Jeff, time for Pick of the Day, and you've got a little bit of a mixture for us.
I certainly do. We're going to start off with this one. We got some critters in our items tonight. So this one that comes from Joanne. Hi, saw this saw-whet owl here seen in the late evening in Confederation Park in Saskatoon on December 24th, so Christmas Eve. Beautiful bird posing for me, and what a great shot. Really a nice shot there. So thank you, Joanne. Next from Lauren, strong west wind blowing snow across the prairies, incredibly bright ground-level sundogs over the Milden golf course. Lauren adds, I'd rather not be golfing. Yeah, I understand why. And finally from Pat, love this. Okay, our grandchildren's pup, Otis. Pat says, I think he saw his present. I love that shot. Anyhow, if you've got a picture that you'd like to share with us, certainly send it to cfqcnews@ctv.ca or scan the QR code and you can get those pictures directly to us.
Still to come on CTV News, researchers capture a rare moment among polar bears. A look at the connection between one mother and a cub recorded on camera. In northern Manitoba, researchers have captured something rare, a mother polar bear who's adopted a cub. CTV's Alex Karpa explains.
This polar bear family in the frozen landscape of northern Manitoba is garnering a lot of attention. Wildlife researchers have captured video of this polar bear traveling with two cubs, but the catch? One of the cubs has been adopted.
When we got confirmation that this was an adoption, I had a lot of mixed feelings, but mostly good.
The mother, who was being tracked with a GPS collar, was encountered by researchers from Environment and Climate Change Canada in the spring of 2025. As she came out of her maternity den in northern Manitoba, she only had one cub, which was tagged. When she was seen again by researchers in the fall, she had two cubs, one with a tag and one without.
It gives you a lot of hope when you realize that polar bears maybe are looking out for each other out there, which is pretty neat.
This behavior is extremely rare. It's just the 13th known case of adoption out of the nearly 4,600 bears studied for over 45 years along the western Hudson Bay region near Churchill.
To encounter it in the field is very unique.
This is the first time Evan Richardson has ever seen anything like this in the wild. He says there could be several reasons why the cub was adopted, but says researchers like himself are still trying to figure out the answer.
We don't know why it happens, but it happens in a number of different mammal species. Over 60 species of mammals are known to adopt offspring, and it really appears that these females are just maternally charged to take care of these young cubs.
Researchers will continue to monitor the family and will remove the GPS tracking device in 2027, allowing scientists to download the data and get a better understanding of the polar bear's movements over the course of the last few years. Alex Carver, CTV News, Winnipeg.
When we come back, a Saskatchewan star shining bright at the World Juniors and later taking a food fight to a whole new level.
Welcome back. Time to take a look at the rural forecast for tomorrow. Now, as I've said throughout the broadcast, these temperatures we see right now may likely not be the afternoon temperature. This would be the 24-hour high, and some of these will, hit their high point earlier in the morning. So just keep that in mind. We are anticipating some snow, maybe a couple of rounds of snow thereabouts. Meadow Lake and Spiritwood, Lloydminster's maybe some flurry activity, but towards the eastern side of the province, that's not the case. You can see Hudson Bay -7, -1 in Watrous, Outlook and Wynyard, and making our way down south. Are there some plus temperatures? Yes, there are, but not a lot of them, but some, and we have some that are really close, sort of hovering around that 0-degree mark. But Maple Creek, as we mentioned earlier on, expected to move all the way up to 3 degrees tomorrow. Again, that could likely be in the early part of the morning. -2 for Radisson tomorrow, and we're dealing with some snow in the area. The wind's backing off in the afternoon, so reasonably pleasant day, although you might have to do a little shoveling, maybe more of a broom situation. And Radisson is one of the many communities where internet plans of up to 1 gig are available from SaskTel.
From healthcare to the impact of tariffs on Saskatchewan farmers to the wildfires, there was a lot on Premier Scott Moe's mind this past year. Our CTV Regina colleague Lee Jones had a chance to sit down with the Premier earlier this month to talk about the issues.
And welcome to our year in review when it comes to politics here in Saskatchewan. I'm now at the Saskatchewan Legislature, joined by our Premier, Mr. Scott Moe. Thank you for joining us.
Good to join you, Lee, and Merry Christmas to you and all your viewers.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. We've talked about healthcare and bringing in healthcare workers, whether they're doctors and nurses, into Saskatchewan to try to fill some of those voids. And we've talked about how you're competing against every single province and every single country essentially out there because there's a shortage everywhere. How have you seen that adjustment gone, and can you still get on track so that we can see everyone have a family doctor in Saskatchewan?
And I think you can add to that very competitive environment for healthcare workers the complexity of the healthcare challenges that are coming through the front doors of our facilities across Canada. Much has changed in that space, and so it is a challenge. We talk about it at each and every Premier's meeting that we have, and when the health ministers get together across Canada. But it's one that we need to face collectively, and I'm starting to see a turn in some of the numbers that we're seeing within, whether it's nurse hires, physician hires, and that is going to provide us a foundation for what is coming next, which is a discussion around using the tools of today in a very innovative way to deliver health care, putting the patient first each and every time. And we've seen one of those innovations come to light right here in Regina, is the opening of the urgent care center, pulling people from the wait times that we had in the emergency rooms, but also pulling people forward, getting quicker health care than maybe waiting 10 days or 2 weeks for their primary health care provider. So that's an example of innovation that is only possible when we are attracting additional healthcare workers into the province.
And one of the things that's hurt Saskatchewan, at least farmers for sure, has been China and the canola tariffs that they put on. We saw yellow peas recently put on by India as well. How much is that hurting the agriculture sector right now, and how concerned are you, and what are you trying to do to maybe try to get those countries, albeit maybe something that the federal government should be doing as well. But what are you doing to try to get those countries to maybe change their mind or lift those tariffs?
When you see the tariff trade talk coming out of the White House and the President of the United States, some of the indirect consequences of decisions that we're making, for example, around EVs, how that is impacting our trade relationship with China. We see now tariffs in India. Those are the three largest markets that Saskatchewan and Canada has. What we're doing as a subnational government is using the contacts that we've developed over the last decade or decade and a half in those three largest markets and others to lead our federal government back to the negotiating tables in each of those markets. We were the first premier to be in China in over 6 years, alongside the federal parliamentary secretary, who then was able to be that constant as the prime minister went for a meeting with the president of China as well. Again, a significant market, a market that we want Canada to be at the negotiating table to find our way through these challenges that we have that are impacting Saskatchewan farmers and more broadly impacting the Canadian economy. So we're doing that with the United States of America, using our contacts down there to bring folks back to the bargaining table. We did it in Mexico, we've done it in China, and we're certainly making those efforts in India as well. And that's the role of a subnational government, to ensure that our Canadian government is able to get to some trade peace with our largest markets around the world, and we're laser focused on that. Because I would say this, and this is a significant difference between current Prime Minister Carney, and I'll say the previous one, he who should not be named. Prime Minister Carney has certainly put Canada's credibility in the international trade environment at the forefront of his government, and that's appreciated. We've always done that as a province, and it's appreciated to see a Prime Minister that is moving into that space to regain some credibility at each of those negotiating tables.
How do you look at the upcoming wildfire situation after what we saw last year? It started off slow, but then things really picked up in a situation where we saw communities like Creighton, Denair Beach severely affected. How do you feel it was handled last year, and what would you like to see this year to try and keep as many communities safe from the wildfire that continues to seem to pick up in recent years?
Where we needed to step in to support communities and families, we did with funding the $15 million funding to the Red Cross, doubling some of the per diem rates, those types of things those decisions that were made along the way. I'd say as we turn to look to the future, there's a few things that need to happen. First, there's some tragic loss of homes, Denair Beach, East Trout Lake, and we've been working with the community to clean up what is destroyed there and to get it ready so that they can return and build new homes in that community. We also need to work with the community to provide confidence that we're going to do everything so that this doesn't happen again, and to use in many cases and collaborate with the community of Denair Beach on ensuring that we are partnering in fire smarting that community, whether it's an actual defined fire break around the community, maybe wetlands that are there. We've seen this in other areas of the north that have survived this fire seasons, areas like Wadden Bay, communities like Wadden Bay. And I think Denair Beach is a place for us to work collaboratively with the federal government, Minister Belanger, and the community on ensuring that we are fire smarting Denair Beach, giving those community members the confidence to rebuild in that community where they live and unfortunately lost their home, and then extend that Fire Smart program across the north.
The province says more than 40 projects have been approved so far through its Playground Equipment Grant Program. The program began in the fall to help parents build new play facilities on school grounds. More than $2.3 million in funding has already been approved. The program is open to all parents and community groups affiliated with a publicly funded school for playground projects in schoolyards. The current application period runs until the last week of February. Team Canada is hoping to remain undefeated at the World Junior Hockey Championships, thanks in large part due to a Saskatchewan player.
McKenna feeds that down to Reshny, has a lane and shoots, scores! There's another reason on the power play.
Macklin's Cole Reshny scored his first goal of the tournament Saturday against Latvia, but Canada needed overtime to take down the Latvians 2-1. The team is now looking ahead to tonight's game against Denmark.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's everything I ever dreamed of. I guess the biggest dream is a gold medal now. It's just the little things. And I think you see that as the tournament goes on. You usually, improve that. And our goal is to be at our best for the final game. And just growing every game, that's a big thing for us. So, looking forward to the next game.
Denmark has yet to win a game in their first World Junior appearance in 6 years, with losses to Finland and Czechia. The game is tonight at 7:30, and it is on TSN. In Dubai, FIFA's president defended ticket prices for next year's World Cup today, pointing to heavy demand.
In 15 days, we received 150 million ticket requests. 150 million ticket requests. So 10 million ticket requests every single day. This shows how powerful the World Cup is.
Earlier this month, fans criticized ticket prices, which can cost several times more than they did for the last World Cup. The president also insisted today that revenue from the tournament is reinvested in soccer around the world. More turmoil within Lululemon to end the year as the company's founder, Chip Wilson, pushes for a board shakeup. Lindsay Biscaya has more.
It's the latest push by Lululemon founder and the company's biggest shareholder, Chip Wilson. Wilson has nominated 3 director candidates to the company's board and says he believes shareholders won't trust any CEO that's picked by the current board. This comes after Calvin McDonald, the outgoing CEO, announced he would be stepping down in the new year. And here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar dropped to $73.04. West Texas Intermediate is up to $57.82. Western Canadian Select is unchanged at $44.94. And the TSX lost 103 points today, closing just under 32,000. Those are your business headlines. I'm Lindsay Biscaya.
Coming up, saying so long to 2025 and what some hated about the year. Then what left some in Spain with egg on their face.
Hey there, it's Derek Jesney here with the Saskatoon Crime Stoppers. In Saskatoon, the holidays are all about coming together, neighbors, families, and looking out for one another. It's also a time when small acts of care can make a big difference in our community. Crime Stoppers is built on that idea. Everyday people in Saskatoon doing their part to keep our city safe. If you see something that doesn't feel right or know something that could help solve a crime, you can share it safely and anonymously. Every tip helps. And during this holiday season, those simple actions help protect the places and people we care about. Just sharing information that helps police do their job keeps our neighborhoods safe and strong. So this Christmas, let's choose connection, responsibility, and looking out for each other right here in Saskatoon. And as always, if you have any information on any crime, past or present, please give us a call at 1-800-222-8477, or you can leave a tip online at SaskatoonCrimeStoppers.com. From all of us at Saskatoon Crime Stoppers, thank you for your continued support and being part of a safer Saskatoon. And from our family to yours, have a safe and happy holiday season. And remember, do your part to stop crime in our community.
Select Hair Services brought to you by Sage, the beauty bar.
New Yorkers and tourists gathered in Times Square to mark the 19th annual Good Riddance Day. The event is organized by the Times Square Alliance and One Times Square, the co-organizers of the city's New Year's Eve celebration. It sees people write down bad memories or thoughts from 2025 on a Broadway show-style ticket before tearing them up to signify a fresh start for the new year. So I guess
kind
that's
of a cool
one way.
idea.
Yeah,
We should do that in Saskatoon. There we go.
We should. I gotta think on that though. Okay. What I would write down. What would you write down? Not sure.
Nothing nice.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
exactly.
Well, we'll share that later. For now, some in Spain celebrate the holidays in a unique way. Every December 28th, people living in the town of Ibi in the Valencia region throw flour and eggs at each other. A group of men dress up and stage a fake military coup armed with eggs, flour, and firecrackers, imposing
What could go wrong?
Right? Silly rules on the residents. They ask for taxes and levy fines for breaking the rules, and the money I guess in the end, is going to charity. So I guess it's like a good thing. But
okay, there you go.
That just looks painful and not nice.
Can you imagine having to clean yourself up after this? I guess that's why they're all wearing, it looks like a lot of top to tail coveralls and things
and
like that.
And who cleans the street up afterward?
Lonely dogs.
Oh. Okay. All right.
Got nothing.
You got a forecast to tell us about.
I do. Here we go. Actually, we've got ourselves some decent conditions, but it will cool off during the day. Did I hit the go button? We don't have time for it.
We don't have time.
Too much howling.
Gotta go. Thanks for watching. Good night.